This past weekend was, well, this past week was extremely rough, guys. Yeah, so like I was saying, I had a couple of issues with last week. I did a little bit of over leveraging, which you should never do. I know, but it's so hard, right? When you know what not to do, and sometimes you just do it just out of, out of spite, I guess. That's probably one of the hardest things to do. Even though knowing what you need to do, it's just following your discipline and actually doing it, which is the hard part, right? That's really what separates you from being one of the top traders and, just being a regular retail trader that's always losing, is being able to be disciplined, right? It's super, super important. People don't emphasize it enough. I definitely need to start doing it a little bit more. But without further ado, let's go over some market news. We're going to go over Forex factories for this coming up week. And we're going to spot out the days with the news, right? So we're going to go to the calendar here. This week coming up is the 23rd. And for Sunday night in the evening session, right, for Asian session, we don't have any red folder news. Going into Monday, we don't have anything. Well, we have CAD, right, Canadian dollar. We have that at the afternoon session for New York session, which is at 1:45 p.m. Tuesday, what do we see? We see CAD at 8:30 a.m. New York session, right? 1 hour before the New York session open. We have half an hour after the New York session open at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York session time. That's USD. And then in the evening for Asian session, we have Aussie dollar. Moving on to Wednesday, we don't really have anything for Wednesday. We have an orange folder, which we shouldn't see too much volatility. That's 30 minutes after market open. That's on Wednesday for New York session. Thursday, we're looking at London session, 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's GBP. We also have 1 hour before New York session open. That's USD at 8:30 a.m. And then followed half an hour after the New York session open, USD again at 10 a.m. Friday, what do we see? We see 1 hour before New York session opens at 8:30 a.m. CAD and USD. And then USD again half an hour after the New York session open. That's on Friday. And then we have in the Asian session in the evening, I don't know why that says Saturday. That should be just Friday, right? So odd. That threw me off. That threw me off completely. CNY, manufacturing PMI. Cool. Let's jump into the charts. So as you can see right here, weekly. If we go to weekly, weekly is obviously bullish. We go to daily. Daily is obviously bullish. We might be seeing a nice little pullback here on the daily. We have seen that it's disrespected this fair value gap. Price action sitting below the fair value gap over here. Then we have another candle that's forming here. We should see a pullback for this coming up week, just depending on this, right? This really shouldn't hold it too much. There's an order block that it just pretty much bounced off of. We should see price action pretty much tap into that and break through it, seeking out this next fair value gap over here. So let's mark that out actually, guys, so you guys can see. Let me turn off this market mind. I want it to be as clean as possible. Let me actually move this over here. So over here, you're looking at around 19,647. Daily fair value gap 50% mark over here. I'll remove that. Oops, my mistake. I meant to remove this little thing over here. Now, if we draw out our rectangle tool, right, to see the fair value gap, it's going to be pretty much exactly right there on that. We can overlap it there. I'll remove that tool so that way we have a little bit more cleaner of a chart. OB 4 hour fair value gap 50% mark. This one overlaps with this daily one over here too. I'll actually mark that out right now. I have a weekly fair value gap down there as well. So we're focusing on this one, right? We're going to set alerts on this one as well. We're looking at 19,650.25. So round it off to 19,650. Let's see what else do we see. What else do we see? So, I mean, if you're looking over here, right, this fair value gap here, this one got inverted and now it's an inverted fair value gap. We can pretty much use that as an area of like resistance, which is what I'm going to be watching for as well. So while I'm in here, I'm looking for a market structure shift on the lower time frame. Let's say like 15 minute, 1 hour for continuation to the downside. So we can seek this liquidity over here at this 19,650 line. We should also see some kind of like reaction over here at 19,774.50. I'm going to mark that out because we should see a draw liquidity. Might just sweep here, not tap all the way in there, but the moment it sweeps here and goes through this, I'm going to be looking for a turtle soup, right? A liquidity sweep. So something like this, right? Probably tap into here, go down, tap, tap, and then come right back up. So we should be seeing a sweep right after that. I'm actually going to color that. Give me 1 second. I want to keep it like a white, just so I can have it marked out. But I kind of don't want to also, yeah, I want to keep these charts as clean as possible, right? Guys, I'm like lately, I want to keep the charts as clean as possible because there's so much going on. So I'm going to use a trend line tool, and that's not it. All right, so using the trend line tool, we're going to mark that out. We're going to put sell side liquidity on this one. Boom, sell side liquidity. I marked that out right there. I have an alert set for that. Once it breaks through there, I'm looking for a turtle soup, which is a liquidity sweep on a lower time frame. And then I'm going to be looking for longs back in across this, right? So sweep underneath this line, most likely tap into this daily fair value gap and then work its way back up. That's what I'm going to be looking for. Let's see. So we have that marked out. Those two areas right there marked out. What else do we see closest to our price action? Well, we see this fair value gap over here as well. So this one might be pretty legit as well. Now, if we use our OTE fibs, we're going to pretty much get, this will probably be our 0.62 and this will probably be my 0.8. That's just by eyeing it, right? So we're going to use this. This is our structure low to the structure high, which is the all-time high. And yeah, just by eyeing it out, it's exactly where we need it to be. That's insane. So yeah, that's going to be the first entry. This is going to be the last entry. Price action should tap into that. DCA into these other two, and the continuation to the upside. That's insane. That's like textbook right there. Wow. I'm gonna take a picture of this. All right, and then we also have this fair value gap over here, which price action is not too close to it at the moment, but we're still gonna mark it out anyways. Let's see, that looks good. We're gonna color it blue because we are bullish, and then that's overlapping with this order block and 4-hour fair value gap 50% mark. That's at 19,159. Make sure to mark that out. Set your alerts for that. That should be good to go. Going down into the 4-hour, you're gonna see it overlaps over here. That's another 4-hour order block. 4-hour fair value gap overlapping with the order block, and we're good to go there. Here in the 4-hour, you see there's this fair value gap here, massive fair value gap. Also that line right there, that daily line of the fair value gap, that's now an inverted fair value gap. You can see that it's holding that area really well. So I might even just tap into it again and then reject off it completely. Let's set an alert there. When price action comes into that area, we're looking for shorts. All right, so we got that. This is pretty cool too. The trend line is right there. Breaks below that trend line. That's going to be another nice little confirmation for us. Let's go into gold. Gold, what do we see? Pretty choppy. Let me clean this up a little bit. Daily fair value gap 50% mark. Broke through it again. Invalidated. Might be a key level for us. Look at the weekly. We are so bullish. Coming down into the daily. We're kind of in range, right? So I'm going to put this in yellow. This all-time high to the market structure low over here. We're going to color this yellow. So it's kind of like in a range right there. It's still trying to break out. We'll know for sure once it breaks down below this area here, which is 2289. But right now, looking at a daily, it's sitting right underneath this daily fair value gap 50% mark, even though it broke through it. Price action came back right below it. Go down into the 4-hour. 4-hour, we have this fair value gap overlap here. And we'll use that as probably a re-entry for our shorts, right? We'll pull the OTE fibs as well to where we're at right now. And then you see the OTE fibs right there, 0.62, 705, and the 0.8. They all overlap right over here for a nice little short entry for us. So that's what we have on gold. We're looking inside an area where it's pretty much like ranging between this area, but we are losing traction. We are on a bearish trend right now, so we're looking for bearish entries. Right over here is where I would look for an entry. Somewhere, actually over here would be better with the 0.8, right? Because that 0.8, that's a fair value gap that overlaps with an order block, and then it also overlaps with this 4-hour daily order block overlap with the 705 here as well. So we're going to be setting our alerts right here at 23729, or we can say 2373. Set an alert on that, and that's what we're going to be looking at for a short. Moving on to silver. Silver pulled back, but it didn't pull back hard enough into our area that we were looking for, which was 31.19. Right, we drew the fibs. We were looking for that area. Didn't draw back all the way down there, but if we pull the fibs all the way to the right, you're going to see it did tap into the 0.62 and it did tap into the 0.705. So if we would have had those areas as like a DCA for us as entries, you'd have been tapped into it, boom, and then went straight into the daily fair value gap. Beautiful, beautiful entry. This is no longer valid. We'll remove that. We will be looking into this over here though. So I'm going to pull my OTE fibs from here, from this point to where we're at right now. And then you can see here the 0705 overlaps with this bullish fair value gap that became invalidated. So now that's like a resistance area. We're going to use that as an area of entry for us. Set our alerts right there, 30.60. And then we have this area here too. This was a fair value gap that was suspected. Broke through it, came back down, boom, fair value gap in that area, fair value gap in that area again. We might be looking at this area as well. But this is going to be the highest quality area for us. So we're looking at 30.60. And we're looking for bearish entries here on silver. Moving on to euro. Euro never came up. Invalidated this. Pull it to the right. It still might actually. So this is still valid. So we're looking right here on the 4-hour. I'm looking for it to come back into this area here. 0.8, 0.705. So I have these areas marked out. 1.08320, 1.08450. And then this one I'm actually going to move down. 1.08635. This area is still valid when it comes to Euro USD. British Pound, GBP. We're losing momentum. We're going bearish, but we're going into a daily fair value gap over here. You should have this already marked out. This is 1.2624. That's on the daily. And then on the 4-hour, what do we see? 4-hour, we see this over here. Broke through that. Fair value gap that was bearish. Disrespected by this bullish one. And then broke through it again. Pull this down to here. Never came back up. Now let's pull it down to here. I don't really see too much of a clear entry, to tell you the truth. So I'd still say like my original bias of price action coming down into the daily fair value gap, that still holds for me. Keep an eye on that. That's 1.2618. I just had to adjust it a little bit. We're looking for entries on that or on the 0.62, 0.705 at those levels right there. Here I don't really see too much of a clear indication. You have a small fair value gap in there. It might just wick into this here and then continue downwards, right? So you have a tiny little fair value gap over here. Nothing too great, but I mean, it's something, right? It's right there on the 4-hour. Very small, right? When you compare this to something like this, very, very small. But yeah, original bias still holds for GBP. Waiting for it to come below this line, and then we're going to look for it to come right back up above this line, and the continuation for bullish momentum on the higher time frame. JPY never came back into the 4-hour fair value gap. This still holds though. This is a really, really important level for us. So I'm going to maintain this. This bias still holds as well. It looks like a very important key level for us. So we're going to hold that. Do we see anything else on the daily? Daily is leaving some fair value gaps over here. But these are inside the discount zone. We want to be shorting the premium zone, right? So we pull like the market structure high, current market structure high to the low. We see the fibs overlap with this fair value gap over here. And then on the 4-hour, it's 2 fair value gaps disrespecting each other. 3 actually, boom, boom, boom. It's a very important key level for us. We're going to keep our alerts there. This area is 0.006485. Bias stays the same for us. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this week. Coming up, guys, not a lot went on when it came to like the market structures and all that. So there's not a lot of new points of interest. A couple of the points of interest that we did identify already previously, still active, still same bias. We're going to wait for price action to come into those levels and test them out. We have some red folder news that's more likely than not going to move that price action down there where we need it. And yeah, hopefully you guys have a great and profitable trading week coming up. Goodbye for now.